right, so the next thing I'm going to demonstrate is adding your switch to your circuit. So if you take a look here, this is our switch. And let me see if I can get this to refocus a little bit. There we go. So you're going to notice on the switch that we've got two prongs that we're going to need to solder into. And the biggest thing to remember about this is that you do not solder across the prongs. If you do that, basically you're creating one solid circuit. You're not allowing a close and an open, and that's the purpose of having a switch. So now that you can see that we have our solder done on our two other joints, what we need to do is choose one of our wires to put our switch on. Now, it doesn't matter which side you put that on. I'm going to choose my black wires. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my wire strippers, and I'd say about 3/4 of the way up, maybe definitely not too close to the motor and not too close to the battery snap. I would say, again, about 3/4 of the way up. I'm going to go the whole way down to my wire stripper and cut. And then I need to strip the wire. Again, I'm going to the 22 gauge hole, and I'm placing it on the wire, twisting and pulling. And just like I did before, that stranded wire that we have there, I need to make sure I twist it. So I'm going to do this on one side, and then do the same thing on the other. So again, I'm placing it in the 22 hole, twist and pull, and then connect the stranded wire by twisting it a little bit more. The next thing I need to do is connect these to my switch. So I'm going to place it in the one side. It's like threading a needle. And nope, some of my strand did not get in there. So that's another reason why we twist it, so that it'll go the whole way through. So I need my stranded wire to go in there. And same thing I did before, I'm making it like a little hook. It's going to hook around, as you can see, on the one side. And then do the same thing on the other. I gotta twist my strand a little bit more so that it feeds through, and then hook it. And again, if you look very close here, you can see that they're not connected. There's a hole in the center, a gap in the center, and that's very important. Now again, I don't have a partner to help me do this. If you were using a partner, your partner would basically hold the wire exactly as you see me holding it here, out on either end, and then we'd solder in the center. I'm going to use my helping hand stand, or my alligator clip stand here, and I'm going to connect it across. It's always better to use a partner than this stand. I don't have much else of a choice, but if you have access to a partner, which everybody in class should, I highly suggest you use a partner to help you do this. So it's just going to make your life a lot easier. All right, so I'm going to make sure it's nice and secured in there, and I'm going to try to angle it so you guys can see as I'm soldering a little bit better, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more and refocus it. I want it to focus on the right part. There we go. It's a little bit better. Okay, so I'm going to have my soldering iron, which is here on the side, and I also have my solder, and I'm going to connect across there. So I'm going to go ahead and take my soldering iron and add it to the joint, and I'm going to let it heat up for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I take my solder and add it to the joint. Again, please don't add it to the soldering iron. That's the biggest mistake people make. Let it cool. And now I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and add the solder to the joint to make sure it's nice and covered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 5 seconds to cool is good too. Now, I'm going to grab this, and hopefully you can see that the joint is there. Let's try to refocus this again. There we go. The joint is there, but it is still open. It's not closed across. I have people who all the time they will make this circuit, and then they'll add so much solder across the center portion that it's not an open circuit. In order for it to be a switch, again, there has to be a little hole in between the two prongs on either side. So again, we're soldering to the prongs on the bottom. And at this point, you have a completed circuit once we add the battery pack to the other end. We still have to, if you're going to do LED lights, we still have to solder the LED lights. And eventually we have to add the entire propeller shaft system to the bottom. But that is the basics of how we solder.